You can take your name as a present if you would like it. Oh, okay. I'll
It'll
start.
slide off, huh? Or will it?
Oh, there we go. I got it. It's halfway out. I don't, these are permanent, so I don't. It's yours is a little harder, so it doesn't have it.
That one's harder to get out of.
You should be able to do that.
Yeah, that'd be We'll put this in.
Yes, I'll get that.
Spare bathroom. Say hello to my wife. I don't know, I gotta take that to the workshop.
Okay,
I can make you a copy.
I just got to get it to where I can read a couple things.
Okay, good. I'm just-
Checking the rules.
Fashionably late.
That sounds awful, y'all.
First started out ignorance, you know what that's wrong. I know, I can make it use.
Well, maybe 2 minutes.
So you brought yours too, because that quiz? Yeah. I got some cheat sheets. Tom here. Steve.
Yeah, yeah.
That little mark on it, that was missing 15 minutes ago.
No, that was something different.
Okay.
But, yeah, but, copies of that and everybody. Yeah.
This band gets me done, well, you had to get the first few, I'd rather have the baddest few.
call this meeting of the Walnut Creek Special Utility District to order at 4:01 p.m. Let the record show the quorum of 4 board of directors are present for the special meeting. The meeting's been duly called, and that notice of the meeting has been posted according to Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Adjournment Code, Chapter 551. Jim Cox will lead us in invocation. Bill Rowley will lead us in the pledge of allegiance. Stand and read the oath.
Father, we thank you for your many blessings, your graciousness. Thank you, Lord, for your shining your face upon us as a community. Thank you for the wonderful rain we've received, Lord. And we just thank you for your wisdom and guidance in all things. We pray that come into this particular meeting, your wisdom be done, your will be done in all things. We thank you for that in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. And everybody, be sure you silence yourself on this stuff, please. Sometimes you need to help people do or ask them. Okay, well, welcome today to pay for the district. We'll take the privilege here of doing a change in the orders of the day. I'd like to move the general session, if it pleases the board, the statement and oath of office of elected directors and the reorganization of the board officers to this point ahead of the open forum for the purpose of the new directors being there to hear the pleasure of those in the audience if said, plus also conduct the rest of the business. But I just think that needs to be done at this time. Is there any rebuttal to that? We're good? No motion, I think, on that one, Steve. I have the floor to do that. So with that, on the general session, we have the item A is statement and oath of office of elected directors. And Denise, you will be administering that to Bo Walker, Tommy Gear, Stephen Roy. If you would please, gentlemen, if y'all come up.
I'll have y'all stand just right there in front. This is gonna take just a few minutes, because there's a lot to do.
Oh, my goodness.
It's all paperwork. Congratulations. That's just your certificate of election. Okay, the first thing that we have to do is there's a statement that you must sign that just says that you have not directly or indirectly paid, offered, promised to pay, contributed, or promised to contribute any money or thing of value, or promised any public office or employment for the giving or withholding of a vote at the election to which you were elected, or as a reward to secure your appointment or confirmation, whichever the case may be, so help me God. You don't have to do that as a formal repeat after me, but you will have to sign your statements. And there are, yes, you have one, there are pens on the dais. For you to do that.
Okay, so
Go.
Somebody else's name.
Thank you.
Oh, I thought you were.
If you don't need one, I have to go.
The next will be the oath of office. And then you have to repeat after me, and I promise you, I go really slow, so.
We all do it at the same time?
We can do it individually or all together, whatever y'all prefer.
Want to dance at the same time? Go for it.
Makes sense, but.
Same time, I gotta go to the baseball game.
All right, and there'll be 2 originals, because we have to send one off to the state,
Okay.
and I keep one on file here. So, after we do this, well, if we do this, there's one. All right, so. You'll raise your right hand. In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas,
Of the state of Texas,
I state your name,
I, Steve Deere,
do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear and affirm
that I will faithfully execute
I will
faithfully execute
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of Walnut Creek SUD Board Member
of Walnut Creek SUD Board Member
of the state of
of the
Texas,
state of Texas,
and will to the best of my ability
and will to the best of my ability
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States.
and of this state, so help me God.
and of this state, so help me God.
Perfect. All right.
I'll
There's
stick
your
a hand
two to sign.
We're good.
Oh,
I got it. I got it.
thank you. Thank you. Okay, so there, you'll take care of a couple more things.
So
and then
y'all come up, we're gonna get three seats for you, down through, see the president. Y'all can move around however you want to see, usually it's officers or, you know. You should go, I used to have wherever. Vote, not Tom, vote, y'all come up.
Kiss each other, then we get to kiss each other.
No, I'm not taking your stuff.
I'm saying, I just, they'll keep it.
Yeah, I usually spread out there. Sit here and then. Yeah, you see him. And, Jim, James will get his seat back once I'm out here.
You wanna sit here?
I could do all change here in a second, and usually move them around. Okay, general session item B is reorganization of the board members. And at this time, the floor is open for nomination for, president-elect of the board.
Nominate. Oh,
Have a nomination for Bo Walker.
I'll second the nomination.
Second.
Second, third.
Third?
Third.
Third, okay. Are there any other nominations for the office of president? Then hearing none, by acclamation, I'll still do a vote. Those all in favor of Bo Walker being the president, the incoming president of the board of directors for the utility, raise your right hand. That's your vote. Those opposed? All right, that's a 5-0 vote for Bo Walker. Bo, I'm gonna leave you with the, after you get through with you setting up your other two officers. You've got your open agenda items here, here's the script that I believe you'll have for that one. And good luck, congratulations. I'm gonna say that, you know, after 41 something years, it's been great. Nobody ever really wanted this job. And, so, you know, this is what you get, this is what happens to you 41 plus years later when you, yeah, I'll come in, Chet, and sit in on the, fill in for a guy for a while. When they filled in, it became, that was like in the 80s. And I'm proud of what's happened. I'm proud of working with, my director, my office manager, my staff out front, or the staff out front. The boots on the ground are the guys out here. I always call them, we got the brain, we got the heart, we got the boots on the ground to take care of it in the hot, the cold, the wet and the dry. Whatever people want to say about it, but they are hard workers. I appreciate what they've done. You couldn't ask for a better crew to come in, Bo, and be head of. I wish you luck with all things that need to be done. And just want to say thank y'all for the privilege of being for the longest a member, then a secretary, and then a president. And so Bo, you come take a seat. And,
Good job.
you're ready. You got your packet, right? Yes. Okay, all right.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Oh. All right. Now, if you run anyway, see what you did, the rest of the time you take off, so. Okay, thanks, James.
this is,
No,
No.
you're out front and you're in the fire now. I can tell you that, you skipped the pan.
Thank you for the nomination. Now we'll accept nomination for vice president. And also, is there one more? Just vice
There'll
president?
be a secretary after that.
A secretary. So do we have a nomination for vice president?
I'd like to nominate Bill Rosie.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye, raise your
Raise your
hand.
hand.
All opposed?
You need to vote.
Vote for yourself.
You didn't come back over and say.
You can nominate yourself, or you can vote for yourself. Yeah.
Hell, I could have been president.
You
Okay.
know, before I go any further, is there, we do have some bylaws somewhere that this board abides by, I'm assuming.
If we do, we have a family copy of it.
Okay. So that's something we'll have to remedy at some point.
Yes.
So
we will.
I'm flying by the seat of my pants then on not actually knowing what can take place or not. Can the president in the past make a motion?
Yes,
He can,
yes.
okay?
And a second.
And he can vote,
Yes,
okay.
yes.
Okay, we'll take nominations for secretary. Do we have any nominations for secretary?
I nominate Thomas.
Do we have a second?
I'll second
All in favor? Any opposed? Thank you.
Right in the fire.
I'm gonna catfish. Probably.
Okay, the open forum is next. I believe we have two individuals signed up for the open forum. If I'm correct, the open forum is for individuals who sign up, you don't just show up and talk. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And to go a little step further, it should actually be about items on the agenda. Should it not?
Currently, that's one thing that will be discussed later,
Okay,
but currently, it's any public comment,
wide open.
wide open, but the board can't comment or make any decisions on anything that's brought up that's not on the agenda. You listen, and that's it.
Is the keyword can't?
Legally, Texas law states you cannot respond.
we just listen.
Just listen.
The open meeting act says we can't respond until the next meeting.
Yeah,
Basically,
that would make sense to me. So
Yeah.
we can discuss it, talk about it, and come back with a solution, right?
right, I think that it needs to stay open, I mean, within reason, I mean, if somebody has an issue,
That's the problem with that.
instead of limited to only the agenda items. if
Okay, we're
somebody
not
has-
on that agenda item yet.
Right.
We're on
he-
open forum.
Right,
Yeah.
he brought it up.
Okay. Okay, Miss Jane Galvan. I believe you have 5 minutes, is that correct?
I think I have a timer. Hi, my name is Jane Galvin. I live at 128 Clayton Crossing, fairly new development here in Parker County. I'd like to congratulate again the incoming board members since I didn't get to meet you last time. And I, as well as the other water district customers who I talk immensely with, who could not be here today, I pray upon you to remember that as a public utility, that you will embrace every water customer's needs and issues and work to resolve the massive infrastructure issues which continue to be in our water district. They are well-known facts. I became involved with attending board meetings in July of 2023. when suddenly we received a shut-off to our water in our residential neighborhood because of a valve backup at the Agnes Tower. Very unfortunate. Many of my neighbors who had not signed up for text messages, because you're not required by state law to sign up to receive alert messages, didn't even know about it. In fact, we had a number of people who were out of town. It took several days for the backflow valve to be fixed. And then once it was repaired, we were put on a boil water notification. Again, many of my neighbors did not know. And a number of my neighbors who have children with health issues and at risk, as well as adults with health issues and at risk, did not know. It caused a tremendous amount of issues. We were told that the boil water notification could go on for a couple of weeks. That didn't sit well with us, so we got together, we contacted our state representative and state senator, and they intervened for us. And apparently it had something to do with the water testing. We got that resolved pretty quickly, so we were very thrilled with that. It's only happened one other time since then, and again, I had many neighbors who could not and did not know about the boil water notification. Every time I request to be added to the agenda an item that has merit and reflects the concerns of water district customers, not happens. It does not happen. I have, in the beginning, from July through I think November of 2023, my requests were added to the agenda so they could be discussed. But since then, they have not. I do not ask for anything to be on the agenda item that's not within the Texas Code, TCEQ regulations, or TRWD. I will always speak with the Texas Code and regulations, fully vetted in the items that I present and I speak on. So far in 2025, there have been 40+ water alerts sent out to customers throughout the water district, either on the website or via phone text or email. That's it. That's the only way customers know. I hope you have all read every alert and boil water notification sent out, not just in 2025, but in 2024. You'll see there are still significant infrastructure issues in Walnut Creek SUD. The new board, with advice from the GM, will be voting on a new regulation to the drought contingency plan in section 13. This is being done without public input, as required in the Texas Water Code. This regulation would constitute what TCEQ states is between a 5-year plan change. Any plan change made to the water conservation and drought contingency plan must be done with public input. The GM already has authority to regulate irrigation systems. It's in section 12, and it refers throughout section 13. I have now been asking for this detail to be updated monthly on the WCSUD website for 15 months. And this is regarding the projects update, not just what the projects are, but how much does it cost? How much have we spent? When's the projected completion date? It's an easy Excel workbook that just needs to be uploaded. Y'all get it, we don't. We need to see that. We're some pretty savvy people. I think we can read Excel and understand that. Mr. Blackwood gave me a copy of the proposed annexation information guide. I have been a proponent of that for the entire time I've been here. We're talking about current water customers only, not someone outside of the PUC's service area. We're talking about within the TCEQ water district, which is entirely separate from the PUC's service area. I certainly hope the new board will treat, again, all water customers who appear before the board to be treated equally and without malice toward us. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Gilman. Second on the list is Olive Lunsford.
Much shorter and sweeter. Not sweeter, I didn't mean that at all. When I meant short and sweet, my paper's a lot shorter.
No offense.
Sorry. Oh, we've started, okay. I'm here
State
to,
your address.
oh, I'm
Your
sorry.
name and address.
Paula Lunsford, 100 Fay Lane in Springtown. And I'm here I've lived in Springtown for 56 years, and I've been a Walnut Creek customer for the past 32 years. I want to first thank the outgoing board members, especially the ones that have been around a really long time, and the ones coming in. I know it's a thankless job, and if y'all been looking at social media posts lately, you can know that it's a thankless job lots of times. I congratulate the new ones that have won, and I hope we can all work together to address any issues that arise in a courteous and professional manner. This has been on my heart for a long time. There's nothing more unsettling to me than seeing negative posts about our community, our school, our water, our electric company, and I'm just felt like I needed to say something out loud. And I know y'all all do a great job. Everybody wanted to do this job. Like I said, it's thankless, and I appreciate everybody that's wanting to do the job. But anyway, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Good.
Thank you, Ms. Lumsden. Okay, we have no others signed up on the forum. We'll move to the consent agenda. It appears to me that this consent agenda is 4 different items that are approved all at once for the sake of time. Approval of the minutes for the regulatory meeting of April 21st.
Okay.
And May the 14th, it was in your packet, I believe. Approval of the monthly investment report for April, and approval of the income expense reports for April, and approval of the billing reports. Before we vote on that, I'd like to have some discussion. I'm not sure how to do it.
Okay, is there a certain item you want to remove for discussion?
Remove for discussion?
If you want to talk about any item on consent, we have to move it to the general business. But if you just
Are
want
you
to,
asking me to approve all of this information that you sent us in this consent agenda?
these 4 items, the minutes and then the reports that are at the back.
Okay, I have an issue with the minutes of April 21st.
Okay? Then we'll move that off to general business.
To discuss today, right?
Yes. And it will be number, well, it will be the 3rd item, or the first item we talk about when we go into general session.
Okay, we'll just make it, we talk, general session, okay?
So then at that point, you can seek a,
And the, James, where we talk about the jobs and whatnot, is that considered to be in this consent agenda?
As far as,
the general manager's report, the engineer's report, the
those-
WIP report, work in progress?
okay, so when you finish your consent agenda, you go to general session, they're all listed in there, and we'll talk about each of them as you come to them. Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Okay, that's all that, well, I'll ask for a vote to accept the consent agenda without item A, to be discussed in the general session. All in favor?
well, you're looking for a motion
A
to
motion.
approve it. As
Do I have a
you just said.
motion?
Okay,
I'll make a motion to approve it.
okay.
To approve B, C, and D.
Yes.
B, C, and D.
All in favor?
Wait, you need a second?
I'll say.
Okay. Mark, second. Now the vote.
All in favor? All opposed? We have 1 opposed.
Okay.
All right, now just a point of clarity, since you don't have bylaws, typically in boards that I've been involved in, you would have made a motion for something, anything to be discussed. And if that was worthy of discussion, it would have had a second. And after that second, you would have had a point of discussion, in which time Mr. Rohrai could have discussed what issue he may have had, which I don't know because he voted no.
on the consent, you ask for, well, we removed that one item.
Mhm.
And then at that point, to approve, you're looking for a motion to approve and a second, and before you vote, you ask for discussion. It doesn't make sense to me either, but that's the order.
I don't think you asked for a discussion.
I didn't ask for discussion.
But you can,
Okay,
So we need back up.
let's rewind that.
Okay.
okay.
We have a motion and we have a second. Do we have any discussion?
The only line on the, I guess, discussion.
Yeah.
Okay, you can go discuss it.
Yes, sir.
Okay. On the monthly budget report, FM 920,
Okay, if you're taking one of these other items to discuss, then it needs to go to general business.
okay, that's the only one, that's the only thing I wanted to do. Is the monthly budget report.
Okay, so we'll move C down to general business also.
Okay.
We don't need to separate that.
Well, we
Okay.
will,
Right.
yeah, that's what we're doing.
That's
We'll
where
move
we're
into general session, and then we'll discuss
Is
that.
there any further discussion? So we have a motion then to accept items B and D.
Yes.
We have a second.
I'll say.
All in favor?
Okay, who did the motion then? Tom, you did the
I
second?
did the motion.
You did the motion.
I did the
Okay.
second, that's all.
Okay, now we're ready to go to general session,
Okay,
and the first one will be the April 21st minutes.
okay, good. All right, so the first item will be, the April 21st, minutes, of which I had some questions. Items, does everybody have it there in front of you? Item C, review and discuss proposed social media policy. I've not seen the social media policy to consent to agree on.
That is in, you're gonna receive that today.
How can I
That
vote
was-
on it if I haven't seen it?
This was given to the board last month, and it was in their packet as an action item.
Did they vote on it?
They did,
So
and it
it's-
says in here that Jim, which one? Mike Gilly moved to approve the social media policy for board members, seconded by Jim Cox, motion carried 5-0.
Okay. So that's already been approved and behind us.
It was presented at a meeting and approved during the meeting. These are the minutes, because I take minutes while we're doing the meeting
Right.
and have them for the next meeting to be approved.
Okay. That was my only concern.
Okay,
Let's move on to the second.
The only one I had concern was on line on B, because you brought up this one. What's the progress on the report for the fire suppression for the school?
For the fire suppression,
Well, they need more pressure, what was the? what's the
actually,
cost gonna be?
so we do have the pressure out there.
Okay.
The fire suppression they pay for. They're putting in their fire suppression system.
Right, then there was something about, what did it make it to this report? They made it to this report, and that's on our end, not onto their end.
Well, he was reviewing whether or not we had the pressure, because originally they were going to just put in a fire suppression with a tank and run it in. Now they're gonna loop a line around the school and put it there with fire hydrants on that line, so that they have better fire protection.
So it's on their side of the meter, basically, essentially.
Yes, the fire hydrants will be on our side, because
Right,
they don't have, but yes,
But they're-
everything else is on their side of the meter.
and they got adequate supply.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, would you like to discuss your expense report issue?
Yes. On FM 920, it would be page 2, booster, line item 3. Why was it 31,000 over? What was the reason for that?
Let me get to you where you're at. Page 3 of 5 on the income statement.
Sorry, page 2, sorry, page 2.
Are you in the income statement?
Budget report.
Budget report. budget report, page two.
Page two, line item
Three,
FM 920 booster.
booster, I'm leaving there.
Okay. It was originally budgeted for 7,500. It looks like 31,712.99 was spent. Just getting clarity on that.
Is that the big electric bill? Is that the big electric bill that we got? Oh, okay.
I can use it.
Joe, answer.
You have two large expenditures there. One of them, I believe, was $17,900 for, the cleaning of the tank itself. And that's where it was put to. The other one was the replacement of the heaters, which was, I want to say 13,000 roughly. Those are the two major drivers.
Okay, so it was just older equipment that,
I would assume so.
Yes.
And it was not scheduled replacement.
The AC system just went out. And that's
Oh.
part of it. And then the other, on the cleaning of the tanks, we weren't expecting to have to clean those tanks this year, and it ended up, they were worse than we anticipated, so this week went ahead and cleaned them, so that we didn't have the system.
what's the scheduled time frame on getting it? in this
We
area?
have them checked every year. And
I'm glad you, delayed the consent on this. I have a lot of questions. I didn't know this was part of the consent agenda. So I'm gonna ask if you, since it's open,
okay,
on the income statement, the item is construction developer. It's item,
What page?
first page.
Okay.
Item number 4013, it's about halfway down the first revenue column. Right here somewhere. Everybody with me?
Okay.
Construction developer, they budgeted $1 million. We've only spent $58,000. We should have spent more by now. Can you give me a reason why?
That's revenue.
yeah, that's a revenue, so it hasn't come
No,
in.
I didn't mean spent, I meant received. We should have
Yeah.
received more.
Well, because it's development is slowed down.
Okay,
So we
that's
just have,
fine.
that's where we're at on that. I mean, it's just that simple. It's development.
So this, if we move further down, item 4211, we're showing a year-to-date of $260,000, and we have no budget item, zero.
Beverly, will you explain that one, please, ma'am? You explained it to me better than I can explain it.
211?
4211.
Okay, that is the, contract that we have with the city of Boyd. And mechanically, how that works, I think, James, you can explain that better than I can, but they pay us, they're supposed to pay quarterly, I believe, but they paid, last year, they paid us already for this year, and it's $2,500
Per connection,
per connection,
yes.
right?
It's a housing development outside of Boyd. And in that housing development, it was an RCC. So previous management made a deal with the city of Boyd to give them over that property to supply their water. Of course, they buy it from us anyway, but they give us $2,500 per connection when it's put in. So we receive a check every time a house goes in, a new house goes in. Or actually, we receive money for each house that goes in.
Why would we not have had a budget item there? Do we have an unknown amount of houses that are gonna be?
Yeah, we don't know how many will be put in there. There could be 10, there could be 100. There's an end game
But
number.
the engineer's done his assessment as far as the impact on the water system? If it's
Yes, all
100?
that was, well, before my time, but yes.
Is there a platted neighborhood already there?
Yes, there is a platted neighborhood, but they don't have a number of how many they build per year. And we had never had an account for this before.
Yeah, we budgeted zero because we don't know if we're going to get any in a given time period, or if so, how much. So that, we don't rely on that revenue. We don't budget for it to receive it.
Okay. Item 4220, interest income. Can you tell me why it's a little bit behind where it should be at this point in the year?
I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing you. Could you repeat that?
Yes,
please?
ma'am, it's item 4220,
Okay,
interest income.
yes.
It appears to me to be a little lagging at this point in the year.
Well, interest rates have dropped. Last year at this time, well, last year as a whole, we took in over 2 million in total interest earnings. The real hit is on the bond fund because we've been spending it down and interest rates have started to decline. So we have less money invested at a lower interest rate. We should hit budget. Depends on how fast the remaining projects get completed.
Okay.
But it's all invested in a local government investment pool called Logic. And they pay one of the highest pool rates that we can get, which is about 4.45, I believe, at this time.
Is it in tranches?
Excuse
Is
me?
it in tranches?
Okay, and you can look at item 4221 right below it there.
Mhm.
That interest appears to be a little more than what I would anticipate it to be at this point in the year, so same.
This is a mistake I made. When I input the budget into the computer system, I flip the two account numbers. And when we do a budget amendment in the summer, we'll correct that.
So the 217.
So they're backwards.
So the 217,536 should be on 4211, and the 396,936.72 should
Yes.
be.
That would clear up both of my questions.
Okay.
Thank you. Item, in the expenses, item number 5500. We budgeted over $2 million and we've spent year to date $21,000. I think we're about $700,000 off of what we should have spent, so just looking for an explanation.
Raw water purchases are fixing to go up exponentially. Your hot water months, your hot temperature months, raw water expenses will jump. We're always slower at the first of the year, and then when you get into the hot weather, it jumps.
So is that gonna be also a lot lower just because the lake levels are higher? Or is it-
No, it's just lower because it's cooler outside and people don't use as much water. It's just the way it is every year historically.
There's one significant factor in there. We get our settle up adjustment every year, the end of February, from the water district.
Yes.
And what they do, the best way to explain it is they do a true up. Once their fiscal year is over, their audit is done, they get an exact number per 1,000 gallons that it costs to produce the water that we buy. It's typically less than what we pay per 1,000 gallons during our fiscal year. They settle up at the end of February for the prior year. And our credit this year was 370,000. Okay, that credit has been included in this total.
Okay.
Now, again, we're aware of that.
Because the credit has been consumed in this total.
Yes.
So it actually should be 300 and something, but we had a credit.
Correct. The last
That would have
three
answered
or
that
4
question.
months was 130,000 a month in that
Yeah.
range.
Thank you. The other item is 8177. Yeah, this is a smaller item, I'm just questioning the equipment rental plant. You've used half of what was budgeted. It's a little bit more than it should be, so I'm just looking for.
Yes, sir.
clarity.
So the clarity on it is we had to rent some pumps to pump out sludge. If prices were higher than would have been anticipated to do that. That's all. Because we're having to pump the sludge out of our ponds there.
So we don't own pumps?
Not that big.
What size are they?
I couldn't tell you right offhand, I'll be honest, but they're larger pumps and most of our pumps are meant for just moving water.
So we didn't rent these because our equipment was broke down?
No, we rented these because we had to get that sludge out of those ponds to be dry.
How often we get to do that?
We're gonna start doing it once a year, and it won't cost us near as much either, but they've never done it in the past, except for an extreme. They've never done it in the past an extreme, unless it got extreme, so we're trying to prevent that, we don't want.
Are we able to purchasing our own equipment?
Well,
Versus
we'll look at that on our next budget, as to what it will cost us.
They don't clean those things out with a tractor. They're not concrete.
Well, they have plastic coating on them, they're concrete with plastic coating, but the thing is, you can clean them out with a tractor once you get them down lower, but the sludge was so high in them that it has to be pumped out first. We have to drain the water out of the pond, pump the sludge, and then we'll get the last stuff. But dry.
Okay, my next item, Mr. Rohrer, I brought up already. The next one after that would be, this is on the page 3 of 5. This is item number 6311. We budgeted 250,000 and we've spent 9,000.
6311 or 63, 6311, thank you, sorry, go ahead.
Supplies for the distribution system. Those supplies are bought in bigger bulk. We just haven't bought a bigger bulk yet. A lot of that is pipe and things like that we'll need throughout the year.
You just haven't bought it yet.
Yeah, we will spend a lot more of that money.
I guess storage for that equipment, right? Is that supplies?
Those supplies, well, yeah, we'll put all of it inside the building here and the pipe out back.
Is there any other further discussion on the expenses?
I'm on mine.
All right, I'll ask for approval then on the expenses.
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor? Any opposed?
Did you do the motion? I'm sorry. Did you do the motion?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Okay, so now we have all the agenda items approved. So now moving to the general session, or we're actually the third item in the general session, which is item A. We've done the statement of oath for the officers. Item B, reorganization, we've done that. Item C, we have not done a reorganization of signers.
We have accounts at Pinnacle Bank and at Logic, as Beverly had mentioned. So we need new signers on those accounts. And one thing that was found on our audit, they didn't list it as an issue, but they discussed it with Beverly. Currently, we have facsimile signatures on our AP checks that go out. They don't really like that. The auditors don't. They had rather either, they want to see at least one manually signed, one signature on there, or two lines with two signatures on there. So I just need to know how y'all want to proceed with that.
What signatures?
I'm sorry,
What signatures?
the ones on the checks.
Do you want, they asking for what signatures?
Are these
Yes.
for vendors or for payroll?
Vendors, our payroll is all done, direct deposit. So we don't have checks for
So they
that.
want two signatures on a vendor check.
Yes, I mean, they're okay with one wet signature and the other one being a facsimile signature like we've used. We've used 2 facsimile signatures. And then I would have to still okay the check. We just need to get one wet signature on it. That would
Could
make
be
it
any one of the board members?
Technically, we want
Currently,
it to
it
be,
was Mr. Gilly, Beth Carell as the secretary, and myself as a signer on the account. Yeah, that's it. That's the only, is that it?
yes.
Are these vendor checks needed arbitrarily,
We
without
pay
a day?
Yeah, well,
So it needs
so
to be
we
somebody
set a
that's in
day.
Springtown.
we usually don't do them just arbitrarily every day.
No, we process once a week for payables.
Is there a threshold limit where you need to have 2 signatures?
Currently, no, every check has 2 signatures.
And if they're over a X amount, I still have to sign off on them. before
He initials
they-
them, right.
I initial.
What's that amount?
$10,000.
$10,000.
So currently, I'm just asking if, either way you want to do it, either 2 wet signatures or 1 with the board president's signature on it. And then it'll be a blank line that either James or I or whoever else y'all want on there to be able to sign.
Any suggestions or discussion, one way or the other?
It's at the board's.
I think we need to do it the way the auditor wants, so.
Yeah, it would be at your pleasure who you want on there as far as you, Mr. Gear.
I think it needs to be somebody in Springfield. I'm never in Springfield.
Then we could put yours as the facsimile as the first signature on there,
That's fine.
okay? And then, so you will be a signer on the account? Tom, your
I can.
secretary, okay?
I can, and is there somebody to back me up if I'm gone?
James and I.
Okay, I mean, I don't mind.
Does everybody approve that? We good?
We
need a
will make a
motion?
motion and, yes. Yes, and I will get with the bank and Logic, and they will send out a signature card that all the signers will need to
Okay.
sign.
What is logic?
Logic, it stands for, what's Logic?
Local government corporation.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nonprofit, government-oriented, invest public monies, just public monies.
Okay.
They do a good job.
It's administered, right?
I wondered.
Yes.
A little slow.
So a motion for that? Oh, you called for the motion, I'm so sorry.
I'll call for a motion.
I'll second it. I mean,
Okay, Bill, second Tom. Okay, ready for
Do you have any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
okay.
Yes. Oh, okay, okay. Oh, okay. Yeah, yes, yes.
It's good. No grandson.
Remember that rise, note on with you, you put me on that green front porch here. Okay, the next item is to, review and discuss the proposed annexation instructions. Is this in our packet?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Point of order. Can public make comments regarding this legal document?
No.
Not unless you signed up to speak specifically on this.
I did,
On this item?
on annexation, yes.
Public comments over there.
Yeah, public forum is closed.
I understand that, but y'all were discussing this document that Mr. Blackwood gave me earlier.
Yes, that's correct. I mean,
So can you prescribe how I can submit my concerns about this document?
well, the gentleman that was standing here, he's
Uh-huh.
the one, he's our attorney that wrote it.
Oh, okay.
I'm not sure. Is Ron back there with you? Yeah. Oh,
Okay,
he disappeared. I don't know where it went.
okay.
And this doesn't necessarily have to be voted on today, it's more of just this is the first.
I understand.
Look
It's
at
kind of like what we did with the water conservation. Contingency plan. I just think.
Disappeared for a minute. Gentlemen, this is Ron Freeman. He is our water attorney that's located in Austin, Texas. He is the one that wrote up this annexation process, he and his team of attorneys.
We tried to do something simple. If you were a taxing district, it would be a lot more complicated. But you're not, you don't levy taxes. You represent all kinds of water districts, taxing and otherwise. What we did is something we would do for a taxing district minus some of the more difficult parts, like tell us if you have a lender and get the lender's consent, not gonna happen for retail homeowners. So we got that kind of stuff in. But I'm happy to talk to you about what we're asking for. Let me back up a little bit. I'm old enough that about the time Mike was on the board, I actually helped write, before y'all hired me, I helped write the SUD chapter 65. It was an accident. I was doing financial work in Dallas, and Hobby McCall, who owns the bond firm that I work for now, asked me to look at it because I'd worked at the state water agency. SUDs are real different than a lot of the other districts I deal with. Most of them are MUDs and things like that, where you got home subdivisions going in, very dense, lots of financing. Your SUD chapter, your job was, when I came out here, Mike, you'll remember, but I got hired in 1987 because the federal government was offering 10 cents on the dollar to pay off in advance, what, $8 or $10 million in debt that farmers own that's made out here. So they paid my fee happily, the district did, to pay that off for 10 cents on the dollar, and I've been here ever since, working with the board and your engineers, who disappeared on me too. No, here, right here. But anyway, I guess Jerry Olsenbach was the manager for 40 years, and he taught me how a water district was run. I'm just a lawyer, but I saw it done. And Bill Lorkey, who was Trevor's boss until he passed away last year, was the engineer. You lost a lot of knowledge in the last 10 years. Speak particularly from Bill, I'm hoping Trevor has it. He's gonna teach me, because we've got, as you're aware, some formidable water issues, and we'll be fine. It's in West Texas. We need pipes coming across I-35 is what I say, okay? That's what we need, and we'll get it in its place. But I help on things like that with the district, and I don't want to take up any more of your time. Also heard you were looking for general counsel recently. We do that kind of work, and we don't have to bill you 4 hours up and 4 hours back. We can do it if you put the Zoom meeting on here and let us be at the meetings virtually on a Zoom meeting. We do that. I do that for 11 clients in El Paso.
How much is your
Every
hour?
month.
How much are you charging us per hour currently?
My bill is $400 an hour. If I'm doing general counsel work, bond counsel is separate. I have 2 different firms I work at now. Sorry for the confusion, but I'm too old to do it all. And I have a bond law firm I call Parkhurst and Norton that helps you with your bond issues. That gets paid only as if and when bonds are sold, we get a percentage of the bonds. That's the way that industry works. When I'm up here on bond time, I don't bill you. I'm not billing you today, by the way, because I just want to come up and see what's going on. But hourly work, we charge $400 an hour. I'm in a firm called Terrell and Walter. They are very active in the Sun and Water Supply Corporation and for-profit water corporation business. I'm very active in the public side of water finance and water issues. They do a lot of groundwater work. One of our clients is Trinity River Authority. We do work all over the state. If you need water, and you got money, or you got money and you want water, we're there. That's what we do. And we help get the infrastructure in and all of that. We also don't do just general council work like open meetings, open records, helping with the agenda, all that. And as I told Denise, I think our average bill on my district's out in El Paso was $2,000 and $3,000. I gave a bunch of them away recently, a month. This one would be a little more, but I mean, you need to spend some money on a general counsel, even if it's not me. You're dealing with a lot of public money here, and it's all open records, open meetings, open general rule. So you would do well to get a lawyer out here to help the office manager and the manager with all the administrative stuff that goes on with these districts. It's a lot of dotting i's, crossing t's, and the white legislature always twisting it around on. And I'm sorry I came in late. Did you answer a specific question on the agenda?
We don't go anywhere, we might have a question.
I don't plan to. I want it.
The questions I have with this is that, you say annexation and land into the district, then you also refer to CCNN. The CCNN is what can change, the district lines can't change, because CECQ manages the district lines.
Yes and no. Here's the deal. Can I sit down there? I'm too old. CCNs are different. CCN has nothing to do with your boundaries necessarily.
It's right there.
The CCN is just a service area map where the TCEQ, the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality, has given you permission to serve. Now, originally you were a water supply corporation, not a SUD, and you had a CCN for the water supply corporation. And then when the SUD chapter was created, you had to convert, and we did this, Mike, you'll remember it, the engineers and the lawyers, we converted from a water supply corporation to a SUD. And at that time, your service area, we had to go get a CCN at the commission to do that. Now the PUC, then it was the Water Commission, now it's the PUC. And we had to give them the map of where our service area was, and that was 1993.
1992.
And that's where our boundaries were set in the statute. Blame me and Holly McCall. We didn't think about it when we wrote the law up for the SUD chapter. We just said your boundaries will be your CCN. We didn't think about, well, what if you change your CCN? Do your boundaries change? You blame me, it was 40 years ago, you can't sue me anymore, it really wasn't malpractice. It turns out there's no way the legislature just didn't provide for your boundary to change when your CCN changed. It should have. Don't ask me why it hasn't, it's been 40 years for that problem to be fixed, but you've now expanded your CCN area double. Well, you've served those people, but your boundaries didn't change, and your boundaries set the voting under federal law. It's only people in the boundaries of the district.
It's also odd that outside the CCNN, you can run for the board.
That is correct. You
No,
can run for the
that's not
board,
the
but you just
CCN.
can't vote in the election.
Well, they can, if they're outside the border of the voting district,
You
they can run, but they can't vote.
That's correct.
As
You
long
can
as
run
they
for
live
board,
in
but
the
you can't vote.
CCN.
It's just something that needs to be fixed.
Further the way the bylaw, further the way the state statute is written, he just said it.
Yeah.
You can be outside the CCNN and run for the board, but you can't vote.
You cannot.
That's
You can be
right.
outside.
No, outside the CCN?
You cannot
Outside
vote
the
if you're
CCN.
outside.
No, okay, listen to me just a second, because I've researched all this. If you are within the CCN, you can run for a position on this board.
Yes.
If you are outside the voting district, the original 1992 district boundary, you can't vote, but you can run.
That's what I said.
That's what he said.
We were
That's what-
saying if you were outside the CCN.
Right, outside the black line.
No, that's the CCN.
That's the CCN.
Okay, I'm saying outside the voting territory, that's
Yeah,
what
that's-
Yes,
Yes,
yes.
sorry,
but you-
we're-
The
okay.
political boundaries are not on this
I
map.
think. that
Yeah, they're not on that
the
map. That's our
what CCN
CCN.
are we talking about,
That's
the
the
original
CCN
one or
in
the
the
current
right.
one? The current one,
We were saying the same. I'm sorry.
it's whether you're outside the boundaries of the original CCN that we had, not the current
Right.
CCN, excuse me. Thank
Yeah,
you.
there you go.
That's the thing. Like I say, the legislature should have stated, we should have written in the law 40 years ago that when the CCN's amended, the boundaries are automatically amended. We didn't. Every other district in the state pretty much has an annexation procedure it can do, SUDS don't. Unless you go to chapter 49 of the water code, which governs all, and it's an annexation provision that any district can do, but you have to wait for the landowner to petition. And like I say, if it was a taxing district, we'd have a stock of documents this big because the Attorney General of Texas has to approve that before you can levy a tax on it. But in this case, I kept it as simple as I could, just say if the landowner wants in, and he's in the current CCN, but not in the original boundaries, you can annex him in. And the fact, by the way, that you might have pot market voting boundaries, you know, the original CCN plus this lot and this 10 acre, that's okay.
Yeah.
You're not like a city and have to have contiguous boundaries, districts all the time, have spot boundaries. I would encourage everybody to petition to come annex in if they're a customer and they want to vote. And I think you ought to be open to that, but that's the board's business. But it's gonna be a cumbersome process, and I told Denise we ought to.
Individual's business, isn't it?
It is the individual's business, and I don't wanna give them advice. I'm giving you advice. I was asked to draw up some forms. But they need to consult their own lawyer. I don't know if you wanna be in a district or not. It's kinda like being in a homeowners association sometimes. But this is just voting in this case, and no tax
Only has
involved.
to do
If
right.
there was a tax, people might be scared, but if you're a customer and you're just paying the same revenue anyway, it doesn't cost you anything to be in the voting
Right,
precinct.
and there's no engineer studies needed.
No downside to it that I see. If there was, I'd be more concerned about it. And this is something I really have encouraged my firm, they get involved with TRWA and now the Texas Water Alliance and all that. This should be in the legislature. This should be an easy fix in the legislature for all SUDs. Well, I mean, it's just something that nobody's put the effort in to have the legislature fix it. They'll fix it.
Well, we all know that runs smoothly. They run really smooth up there at the legislature. It's a good, well-organized machine.
Well, this is a bill that they would do, though. I've gone over and lobbied bills before, and it's a process, but they, generally, you do the right thing that's gonna save people money, get your legislature rep and state senator behind it.
Denise, do we need a motion to accept this?
No. Today is just review. This is your first time looking at this.
Yep.
So take it. We'll talk about it again next month
Good.
and
Let me add,
go forward
let
from
me
there.
add to that, well, you don't have an election until November. That's the only thing that matters is the election.
And hopefully we don't have one then.
Yeah, and if you call the election, you don't call it until August, 79 days ahead of time. So you've got the summer at least to look at this thing. I'd like to run it, once y'all sign off on it, I'd like to take it by the Secretary of State's office because they control voting. And I talk to them regularly, and not regularly, but I talk to them 5 or 10 times over my career on issues like this. They're good to work with, and you don't want to show up on the front page of the paper that the Secretary of State has a problem with you. And you won't if we go talk to them. I mean, you might end up on the front page of the paper, but you'll say, hey, Secretary of State, we checked with you. It's a safe thing to do. And we do that kind of stuff for districts all the time.
We appreciate you being here. We've got a lot of knowledge.
Well, thank you. I love Mr. Gilly, but as I told somebody coming in here, my favorite politician is the one that won the office. Thank you very much.
So Denise, you're
I
going
work for the
to,
district.
you're going to keep this document, in a timely fashion for us to,
It will be presented again next month. And you and I will talk about, because this agenda actually belongs to you. So you will decide what's on here. It's always the president at their discretion of what makes the agenda.
Those annexation documents, once you get comfortable with them, I suggest we put them on the website for comment. Because like you say, The landowner's the one who needs to be thinking about this, it's his petition, not ours.
But also needs to be on, we're gonna be doing an annexation of a new district for engineer studies, because we're gonna give them water. This is something that needs to be brought to the developer to.
I work for MUDs all the time, they're the developer governmental arm. I understand that business very well. I got calls from some of the development lawyers I used to work with up here. You need my attention on that issue. I'm very knowledgeable in there. And I'm very creative at working win-win solutions with developers, MUDs, water districts, and cities. That's what I do all around the state. Win-win, not lose, win-win for everybody. That's what we need to do. And there are a lot of options
That
there.
would avoid these things in the future, if this was already started from step one.
It's coming your way. I've lived in Pflugerville. I started in '86, and there were 1,300 people, and now there's 110,000, and I live in a mud. It's coming your way from Fort Worth.
All right, thank you very much. I appreciate your time and being here. And we'll certainly be using you pretty often for that.
The engineering you've got is great, by the way. They really did a terrific job designing a system in a rough area. This is tough territory to serve. Thank you for your time. I'm gonna wait in case anybody has any questions. I'll be around after the meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item is item E, consideration and/or action to update open forum wording and time limit.
And I apologize for not getting this to you in the packet. It was stuck behind something else. I had emailed it, this one here, just pass this. Take one and pass it.
I did, I seen it.
Okay, so this was done back in March of 2023, when there was an issue, but the current GM at that time had called Shan Rutherford, that works with Ron, he's an attorney, about some things that he thought might happen at our board meeting on this day. Shan sent this, and it just talks, that first paragraph, it says, first, the board's not required to provide a public forum to express an opinion on any matter whatsoever. That's not required. It is required, that you have to allow for a public opinion on any item on the agenda. So, as Ms. Galvin spoke today, that she talked about things that weren't on the agenda. We don't have to allow that going forward. We can limit it to just, agenda comments only. And currently, the limit is set at 5 minutes, and it was suggested that that be lowered. So this is all up to y'all. It had been discussed prior with the prior board. So that's up to y'all.
Okay, we'll open that up for discussion amongst the board. I have, personally, I don't see any reason to lower the minutes or to change the open agenda. Does anybody else have any comments?
I have no, I agree with you on that 100%, because there's something we missed. I want to be able to hear it from somebody else. We're not all, we don't have, all have all information on our heads 100%. There might be something we miss, the organization misses, or somebody's got issues with, and it would be great to be addressed in the forum.
Any other discussion?
Okay, it's fine with me.
I'm good. And if there's more, if there's something that really catches your attention, can you allow it to go further than 5 minutes? I mean, if there's something.
No, you have to treat everyone the same.
Right, you've got to, it's across the board, 5 minutes and it's done.
But we can put it on the agenda item for the next meeting to discuss
Good.
and to.
To complete it.
Correct. And if somebody else on the audience wants to take up the second half of it, whatever that speech is, they can
No.
finish it out?
No,
Cannot.
no, you cannot.
Okay.
Open forum is for the one person the president recognizes. No one in the audience can speak but that person right there.
Unless they signed up to speak.
Well, if they sign up to speak, they can continue on.
Yes, they
Well,
can
they can
continue
talk
on.
about anything.
They can't
yeah.
take, they
That's
can't
what I'm
take,
meaning, so they can continue on with the same information, it's just to have to sign up for it and then speak, because it's open forum, they can speak wherever they want.
they can speak wherever they want, but they can't take the time. If a person took 3 minutes,
They
someone
can't
can,
get 8 minutes.
Can't yield it to someone else.
sir,
You can't yield your time to someone else.
no.
No, but I was saying that.
If you're recognized, and then anyone can, I mean, they could, 10 people will talk about the same thing if you
Yeah,
want to.
exactly. You
It's
could
just-
have two people talk about part A and part B of the same issue.
Right.
Correct.
I understand.
But you can't share, you can't yield time, and that's the only person in the audience speaking, and no one else can,
Correct.
because you've recognized the only one.
So then no action is needed for that, we'll leave it as it is.
Okay.
We need a motion on that?
No, since we aren't making
Not
any
changing.
changes.
Okay, the next item is in your packet, consideration and/or action to approve resolution 2025-001, providing for the periodic use of water for non-essential lawn irrigation.
So, open discussion?
Sure.
She already spoke on to it, it's the same thing I seen. In section 12 of the drought contingency plan, already allowed for this to happen. So I don't understand why we're making another, we're voting on a resolution that's already allowable. Section, she already spoke about it.
Yeah.
I came across the same information. Section 12 allows for you to do this already. So why are we having a resolution?
We don't have to have it. It's in section 12. I was looking elsewhere for it, so.
Okay. And also to be in stage 1, that would be something that either the criteria is to meet, you can take it out of stage 1 as either A or B.
Yes, like
And that should,
that's.
right, and that should be general, day-to-day items that you do, not something that the board has to vote on to go out of stage 1 or 2. That's something that would be done by you.
Yeah, that's true. It is something that I'm allowed to do. I've just always took the consideration of because they're gonna catch the backlash. I mean, just honestly, whatever happens. So I always want to be involved. It's never been a voted on item. It's a, I call and talk to each one, or I discuss it, but it's not a vote.
Okay.
Just because you're the one's gonna hear from me first.
They can easily Google me, they can find my number.
No, that's not okay. I don't want you to get blindsided with that.
Can I ask what chapter you just talked about in the drought contingency?
Section 12.
Section 12.
And section 13 is the definitions. But section 12 gives the scheduling on days, even odds, it's already in there, so voting on this resolution would also be a violation of law because it's within the 5 years for the last modification, without going to public comment.
And I was actually going to recommend that you did not vote on it today. I was gonna recommend that you go to, just a blank on the word I'm looking for, and I apologize, to the, Mike, what's the word I'm looking for?
Now, sorry. I was reading.
We just talked about this a while ago, go into,
Executive session.
executive session.
Executive session.
Remember the word session? I could not remember the word executive. You have my apologies.
Well, yeah, your attorney's here, so.
I was gonna recommend that you go to executive session and talk to Mr. Freeman about it before we record. But if it's in section 12, it's
Yeah,
not.
so we have no action on this item then. We're moving on. Item G, engineering project report, Steve Exhibit A.
Good afternoon, board members, new board members, congratulations. My name's Trevor Truss. I've worked with ES&CM for, golly, since 2009, so it's been a while. Like Ron said, Bill Larkey was the main engineer for Walnut Creek, especially the Taylor District, as long as I can ever remember. And he passed away last year, so I've kind of picked up the mantle and doing the best I can to play catch up and get everything done. This report is it's a report that I send in monthly. Just gives a quick overview of stuff that we're working on. The big items right now are the bond projects, the $40 million bond projects that are under construction or in the process of going to bid. So I'll just kind of give you a quick update on the projects under construction. Number one, the surface water treatment plant expansion. That actual construction is supposed to start in July. We bid that project last year, but it takes about 18 months to get the new plant units built and shipped. I did get a phone call from the contractor doing that work last week, and some of the pumps and filter equipment have started trickling in, so he should be mobilizing and starting to move all that into place and get ready to do the
months
plant.
from July.
Let's see, no, July 2025, this year is when he should be moving the Trident pumps and filters, and the big part of construction will begin.
Can I interrupt you?
Sure, go ahead.
I need some clarity.
Okay.
Can you explain to me how contracts flow through this water district? Are you the construction manager? Are we the construction manager? We're the owner. I understand that, but who's actually in charge of putting this work in the ground?
The way it works is we put the plans together, we put all your bid documents together, your spec books, all that stuff, and then we publicly bid the projects. They're usually advertised for 2 weeks, and then we do a bid opening on the 3rd week. After that,
So you're like a construction manager.
We do construction
that does
management.
engineering.
Both. James and the Walnut Creek staff kind of take care of the day-to-day construction management, being
So they're the GCs.
everyday inspections.
Yeah, we do the
stuff like
inspections,
that.
we go out and talk to them.
If something
Any
comes up,
problems, and those
any
sort of
problems,
things.
So
James,
that was one of my questions. Who's actually inspecting this work?
James,
Or Perry Day.
Is
He's not
somebody
here
there
today.
every day?
We go by every day, we're not there all day every day. We go by and look at what's going in the ground.
And who's approving change orders when they go over contract?
James.
They go through him to make sure we need them. We discuss it, if it's needed, then it comes to me to sign for it.
Okay, thank you. I want to make a suggestion.
Sure.
Please. On these projects that you've listed here, can we correspond those with the actual project number?
Yes, we can.
Can you write the number beside it so that I'm not trying to figure out
Sure.
what you're talking about? And also, James,
Yes,
in your report, if you would also just identify with the project number.
okay,
I know y'all are dealing with previous board members, they know what you're talking about,
I understand.
but I don't. I'm trying to figure out what's he talking about, and which job's he on.
Okay,
If we're all on the same number, then it's clear.
okay.
Thank you.
Sure, that's
You
no
go
problem.
ahead.
I might be able to remember some of the John numbers off the top of my head, so, let's see. I'll just quickly run down the list. Okay.
I have several questions when we get to this page.
Yes, sir.
Is this page addressed with Mr. Truss?
Well,
Truss, was it?
that's part of my report, but he can probably answer questions on it.
Okay, I'll, let You just
If you
keep
wanna ask,
going.
yeah, if you wanna ask me
No, just
questions,
keep
feel
going.
free to interrupt me and ask questions, and if I can't answer them, James can. So we work.
Let me go ahead and listen to what you have to say, and then we'll.
Okay, sure. The 2 million gallon tank at the tank site is finished. We're just waiting to make the connection between the new tank and an old existing tank that's there. So that project is almost finished. There was a rehab, tank rehab at the plant site that was completed last year. Let's see, the FM 920 booster pump station expansion is about 80% complete. Let's see, there's also a new 1 million gallon storage tank that's going in at that site that's pretty much complete. We're just waiting on those booster pump guys to catch up and make all the water connections so we can disinfect, clean, and put everything in service. Let's see, what do we got? Okay, FM 51, this is south of Springtown. That booster pump station is pretty much step in step with the FM 920 site. They're almost both complete. There's a new storage tank going in there as well. It's done. We're just waiting on them to complete the booster pump station to put it all in service. The elevated storage tank that's at Thomas Road and Johnny Drive, that is almost done. I got a call from the contractor. They're painting the Walnut Creek decals on the side of it, so it's very close to being built and ready to go. The water lines, the Keeger elevated tanks, the Jaybird pump station. That project is almost done.
You said the previous line, the one that did 500 to half a million gallon Keeter and Jaybird, you said that was 89% done, it says 60.
Say that again?
That's what he was referring to right here? Just previously?
He's just now on this one. He was talking about FM 51 previously, am I correct, Trevor?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so he's on that, so that's one.
Right. Okay, yeah, the item number 9, those water line projects is about on, they're very close to being finished with that. The FM 51, 16, 12-inch water lines, they're about halfway done with that project. So, and then the 12-inch water line that's currently going down Knob Hill, those guys are moving really fast, so they'll be done with that pretty soon. Now we got projects.
Let me ask you some questions about that. I think you would be appropriate one to answer this.
Okay.
I'm looking at this list right here.
Okay.
Is that the same list that you have?
I believe so.
Shows percent complete on the project? We all have it, it's a phone.
Yeah, it's pretty close. Yes, sir.
You with me?
Yes.
The percent complete. Yeah. How do you determine that before I run my head here?
Usually I kind of just use a judgment call. I'll drive by there, you know, I'm usually out here once a month, you know, definitely for the board meetings, but then I also come out if James has questions or, you know, I need to meet with James, then I'll drive by sites and walk sites, and a lot of times.
So that would make more sense as to why they're not actually based on bill and contract amount. That's a completely different percent complete.
Correct, because contract amount percentages, you know, we get those pay requests from the contractor. His billing percentages, they usually line up with mine, but sometimes I call it, you know, 6%, he calls it
Yeah,
70.
that's a problem. That's
Because
why I'm bringing it up.
That's why I seen it too, because it's 60%.
If you go to line item 062, which is 16 and 12-inch lines along FM 51, are you familiar with this job?
Yes, sir.
They've built 65% of that job, but they've only completed 10% of it. So did they bill for material on hand? Is that why it's so expensive?
No, I don't, that's part of it, yes, they usually, your first billing request is materials and stuff like that. So that's where sometimes the pipe in the ground project, where I'm saying, okay, they've got half of it, doesn't match up sometimes. This just looks like this list is not updated, because I would call them way farther along than 10%.
Every one of these is off by 10 or 15%. The, item number 065, Keter J. Bird Pump Station, that's 85% built, and you show it 60% complete.
You got it billed at 1.8 million, and it's only a 2.1 million contract.
Right. The last one there's percent billed is 23% and 5%. So they billed for a quarter of their, for $2 million, and they've only done 5% of the work. That's a little scary to me as a contractor.
Okay, hang on here. 20,000 feet, so that's this list right here, I didn't put this list together. I don't know where this came from. This,
Fair enough.
that, they have more than 50% of that job complete, so.
We got an issue there.
Because
Some of this is,
20,000, so that 110, is 50% of them?
yes, 50% of that pipe in that project is in the ground.
Okay, that's only showing 5%.
Right. So that right there is probably, I'm gonna call that a communication error between me and Beverly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I'll do better and make sure that I get,
Yeah, I'm
Barely
not
up
throwing
there.
anybody under the bus. I'm
Right.
looking for clarity here. My questions are not an attempt to
Right.
blindside anybody. Don't have an ulterior motive. I'm just trying, I'm ignorant, so I'm asking these questions, okay?
yes, sir.
If you go down to the completed projects, 099 shows a bond amount of $1.6 million. You with me?
We got Cleveland Underground Emergency Project Office.
It's the second line item, it's only 2023 column if you want to go scroll down.
It's the part of this.
Oh, that's the Parker's thing, okay.
I believe he's talking about emergency project option C, don't you, sir?
099 is what I have here,
Yes.
James.
Okay, those two projects went together, those two went together.
This one.
Yeah, that's the column, it's the same one he's talking about. Column 2023 bond, go scroll down, and that's gonna be cross over to 537099, the first line item, underneath completed projects.
Can you explain to me
Right.
the bond is the project
So-
plan is 6.6 and the bond is 1.6.
So most of that was paid for out of our coffers, but Beverly can explain that to you, about the way this works.
Do you have a way of giving him this copy?
So if they want to get it the same.
Okay. The project that you're talking about,
Those two.
yes. The amount that was included in the bond program on that project was, I want to say it was around 1.6. The entire project was estimated to be 6.6. And the district voted early on, before the bonds were issued, to pay up to 5 million district funds, not bond funds, to complete that project. Okay, so you've got several sets of numbers. You've got the original list of projects that were submitted at the time the bonds were sold. And then over time, when we bid the projects, these are the bid awards. And then you go back to your sources of funding, because you've got more than $40 million worth of projects here, because the district agreed to contribute a certain amount of money. You had previous bond proceeds that were provided for in the bond sale that could be applied here. There's a lot of different factors other than just the bond money.
There's more factors here than what show up on this spreadsheet, that's for sure.
Excuse, I'm sorry.
I said there's more factors that don't show up in this spreadsheet, that's for sure.
In
Can you
this
tell me
one,
why the cost to date is 8.1 on a 6.6?
that's what it actually cost.
I
That
see
one's
that.
complete,
Yeah.
and that includes engineering, which was
Yeah.
also not
Project plan
paid
should
by
include
the bond.
engineering. Help me, James.
Alright, so, the actual bid on it was $7,606,000.
Correct.
It would end up at $8,104,000 because on the original engineering, they drew it all out to cut the roads. And Parker County, who had not had a problem with that prior, decided no. So we had to put a bunch of bores in there. That's where all these change orders came from, and ended up at that price.
Okay, thank you. And then explain to me these numbers right here at the bottom. How can you have costs on a job you haven't even bid, haven't awarded?
Engineering costs.
Engineering.
So you do the engineering prior to being,
Yes, it's prior to bid, so they know what they're looking at, otherwise they don't have any engineering on it to bid from.
And then there's, some of these projects have to be approved by TCQ, so you have to send in engineering plans and specifications. And then, once all that stuff is approved.
We're not paying for that twice by the contractor with their engineering, correct? Or are we?
No, no, no. They work off our engineering to bid.
okay? Very good, continue on. Sorry for the interruption.
No, that's fine. Please ask all the questions you have. Let's see. We have a couple of projects still in the design phase. One is there's an existing 1.5 million gallon tank at the plant site that needs to be rehabbed. That project will need to be put off. Just the way the timing worked out with the new 2 million gallon tank and the plant expansion pushing into the summer months. We don't want to start a rehab project on 1.5 million gallons of water in June, July, August, September. So that project would be bid and built in, your late fall, winter months. Let's see, FM51 elevated storage tank, it's number 2. We actually had the bid opening for that last week, Thursday. We got 2 bids for that. That's for a composite elevated storage tank, which composite means, the pedestal type concrete base with a, steel top. We had 2 bidders that bid that. There's really only half a dozen companies in the United States that even do those things, so if you get 2 bids, you're doing pretty good. The low bidder came in. The low bid right now was 4.2 million. The other bid was 4.5 million. I'm in the process of going through the due diligence, checking the references and all that stuff, and I'll have an award recommendation at the June board meeting for you guys to go over and approve. Okay.
If we don't have enough bids, do we normally go out to other companies and say, hey, just hold a bid here?
You can, on some projects, that's prudent. If it's a water line project and you're only getting 1 or 2 bids, then it's better to maybe reject those 2 bids and bid it again and see if you can get some more. If you're talking about elevated storage tanks, like I said, you've only got a small number of companies in the United States that even build them.
I was just talking about like overall.
Right.
Yes.
So this one, it just kind of, that's about as good as you're gonna get. And then we have this last one, 3 and 4 on this list. This 20-inch water line will go, it'll be a new 20-inch line from the new FM 920 booster pump, all the way down to the elevated tank we have at Agnes. Those plans are almost ready for bid. We had to send the surveyor out to just did a couple more things where we're making connections to water lines and that sort of thing. So those plans will be ready to do. I have here by the end of the month, hopefully sooner. And then the last of the four is another project that we're working on. We've been keeping that one at the end of the list, just to make sure that we're gonna have the budget for it in the bond fund when we get down to the bottom. Because that project is the one with the most flexibility. If that makes sense, where if we get to the end and we have plenty of money, then we can do it as is. Where if we're gonna be a little bit short on budget.
Which number is that, James?
So on this one, it is. Go to the not bid yet.
The last one there, the FM 51.
That's the one that's the bid opening that we did on Thursday.
That's what we did.
Storage tank.
That was not even.
I don't see it listed.
Oh, it's not listed because we don't know for sure
Yes,
what's
it is,
gonna
sorry,
happen.
yes, it is.
But
It's
I can,
537-062A. And that Gilman 3 skill.
oh, here it is, okay, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. It's the way it was listed.
So what's the, you don't have an estimate at all on what you think that's gonna cost, that we need to?
Well, we had an original budget for it in the bond.
In the
The
bond.
thing is, some of these others are coming in higher than what the original bond was
Yeah, I'm just
calling
asking
for.
what you think it's gonna be cost.
I can come up with that, I don't have it right offhand with me, but I can come up with that for you. And I also wanted to mention the 500,000 gallon elevated storage tank south of Springtown he was talking about. So in the bond, the money was set at 1.5 million. The bid came in at 4 million, a little over 4 million. Now, here's the deal, because the gentleman's selling the property, there's 2 hills south of town that will work. One gentleman said, if you wanna tie it up in court for months, I got plenty of money and you're not gonna get my hill. The other guy was willing to work, Mr. Woody, only if we agreed to a composite style tank instead of a legged tank, like was the original plan. But we have a grant that will be coming in from Parker County to pay for another 1.5 million of that. And then we've already compensated for it through our funds, which Beverly can explain to you to make up for the part that's gonna be missing.
Okay.
I didn't mean to interrupt you, Trevor.
No,
sorry.
I do not mind being interrupted at all. And that really kind of ends my list with the bond projects. The other stuff is private developments where, you know, the developer is looking for water service. James or Perry sends me all the information and we'll look at the service area of what existing infrastructure is there, whether or not the district can provide water, has pressure, can provide fire flows, all those types of studies. Lately, we've been working with the Paradise ISD, the new school engineering. They're trying to get their school plans finished up and ready.
So how many of those currently do you have that you're evaluating for Walnut Creek?
Right now, just Paradise ISD, there's months where I'll have a stack, and then there's months where I won't. So, on average, you know, I'd say it's 5 or 6 a month. It's kind of slowed down lately.
So, take it a step further, based on your recommendation that you can or cannot provide service, whether the system can withstand that additional usage, you give that information then to James, and James makes a decision on your own to.
No, actually, we have to, so we can't tell them no by law. If they're willing to pay for the infrastructure it takes to get the water to them, the upgrades, those sort of things. So we give the price to them, this is what it's gonna cost if you want water. We have many more turn it down than we do build. When they see the price of what it's gonna take to get water to that development.
So the cost of that new development then is incurred by the future homes, not by the current existing
True, that is true.
members of the water board?
Yeah, that cost goes into the development itself. They pay for it, they have to pay, 75% upfront?
75%
They have to pay
upfront.
75% upfront before anything starts happening. And the other 25% comes in later. But, yeah, it's all incurred in that development. Any pipe that goes in the ground, anything, all of that is paid for.
So that's not a board issue at all, that's just something that you're
Yes.
telling me that you have to do.
Yes, yeah. We do the engineering, well, they pay for it. It's $2,500 for the engineering, just to make sure that we can even supply water and to tell them what it would take to get it there. And then we start working on the price of what it costs to put it in the ground.
What subdivision was it a couple years back where you couldn't get water up the hill? Automobile station?
I know we have one right outside of town that turned it down, west of town.
No, the problem we had a couple.
Oh, we had to put a pump in Rocky Ridge.
Rocket Ridge, okay.
Yes.
And I guess those impact fees at that time weren't assessed.
We don't have impact fees.
We don't have,
We can't charge impact fees.
The fees for the
well,
developer at that time wasn't it?
I can go back and look what was assessed on it. I don't know for sure. I was not involved. I came in, all that stuff was already started, and I was an inspector.
Okay? So, just to clarify, if we could, I don't know who's responsible, but the percent complete needs to be looked at.
We'll work on it.
Thank you.
Sure, thank you all. I don't know who handed me these. Was this one of your copies?
One more. Okay, James, are you up?
Yes, sir. First thing we'll talk about is the meter project, and there's an attached page from this front page here. It does say meter project. Mr. Stevens is gonna talk to you about that. He's spearheading that project and where we're at on getting this completed.
So right now, we're migrating from the AMR system to the AMI. The AMR system is automated meter reading, which is drive-by. So what we have is a collector, it's a meter data collector that is in the truck. We drive by, the transmitter will ping a signal every 10 seconds. We drive by, it picks up that read, comes to the tablet. The AMI system is advanced metering infrastructure. What that means is, instead of a drive-by system, we have a fixed network on top of our assets, our tanks. So right now, we have currently 2 out of the 11 that we need for the district that are working. They're actually, we had one pick up from Highland Tank to 920, it was 18 miles away. So they say roughly 3 miles. Right now, we're averaging about 5 miles that those collectors can get. As the time of this report was made, 1,211 complete meter change out needed to be done. We're sitting at 961. So from the time this was written to now, they've knocked out 300 meters. And we're changing out the census positive displacement meters. That's just a meter that has a impeller on it, that has a magnet attached to it. As time goes, it slows down, so we're losing out on revenue. That's the reason why we're going to the sonic meters. There's no moving parts, which is kind of the current technology. Right now, we have a little over 3,500 ultrasonic meters that need MIUs. These were meters that were put in the ground just right after COVID. We didn't have the inventory for the transmitters because we couldn't get any. So right now, we do have that. The set flow was a failing cellular AMI because when you start getting out of the counties, you can't pick them up. The cellular signal just doesn't work. When everybody's going down the county roads, you kind of lose signal on everything. And right now, we're trying to complete that just as fast as we can. I'm looking at this time next year, the entire district being AMI. The benefit for the AMI, and I've talked to Ms. Galvin about this, is the customer can see their current read. They can see their usage. They can see a water leak. It's gonna save us time and money of sending a meter reader out to pull information from the meter, me come back, break it down, and just look at it from their house.
On the cell phone app?
You can do that as well. That's H2O Analytics, customer sign up for it. I can see the customer side. If anyone calls in, I can see what they're seeing and explain it to them.
So when you're on the county road, you lose signal and you're driving by a member's house and you're trying to get
Yes, sir. So,
information, what, are you gonna average, give them an average bill?
no,
Or are
that's
you
when we
gonna
go out and we actually manually read them.
Manually read?
Yes, sir. It's gonna cut down on that and estimated bills. So the reason why the AMI is the best system, with it being a fixed network, instead of the signal pinging and you're driving by, you can miss that signal. Because I've had some, it's supposed to be every 10 seconds, I've seen some as much as 20 seconds. Well, by the time you've already gone by, it's out of range. So with it being fixed, it just continually sends that signal to the collector that's on the tank, and then the read comes into the website.
So you just actually drive around with a data collector and a pickup, and it's picking up data as you
Yes, sir.
drive through the network?
Yes, sir, and the ones we miss, I send the missing reads over to the tablet, and he goes back out and starts to do mitigations about why it didn't pick up. So it's gonna save a lot of time.
Sounds good.
Any questions?
Any other discussion? What's next, James? Thank
Yes,
you,
sir.
Our generator project. So following the winter storm of 2021, the state of Texas made it mandatory for water systems to develop emergency preparedness plan, EPP plan. The district began working on that to acquire funding for generators. That was originally, you remember earlier I talked about the grant from Parker County? Well, originally it was gonna be for generators, but then they changed it around and said no generators. So, we just paid that for it out of pocket. Because they had to go in and, we went to working for acquiring generators, and that fell through. We knew it was important, so we just went ahead, we signed the contract and got the generators ordered. And that was ordered in March of 2024. Now, according to WECO, this report was a week before last. So then they were saying 3 of the 4 generators be ready to add it to the system by the end of the week. That part's done, because this report's about a week behind. And we're still, the 4th one should be in by the end of June. So at that point, when those are added, when the electricity goes down, or if we have a winter storm, we'll be able to keep pumping water. I know we lost electricity, was it a month and a half ago, approximately? Was it March? And when it went down and we couldn't push water, we had no way to do it. These will enable us to do that. We will be able to keep pushing water and fill tanks. It cost us about $1.5 million to get them ordered and to get them put in.
What's maintenance and operating costs on it? Do we know?
I can get that list for you, I don't have it in front of me, but I can get you that list.
Do they maintain them for so long?
They will make sure they work and they'll maintain them, I believe it's for a year. I'll make sure on that number, I just don't remember it off the top of my head. But, it's a good thing. I mean, it's needed, well, it's required, but it's also.
Do we have field delivery set up during a potential outage?
Yes, we have the people who deliver our fuel here, will deliver it to there for us. So it would be delivered straight to site, fill them back up, keep them full until the outage was over.
You wouldn't have an additional tank that it would be plumbed
We
with a
could-
generator where it would continuously run?
We
since
could do
nobody
that.
could get to it in a week,
We can
and it
do
runs
that.
out of fuel in 2 days?
It's not something we looked at, but we can do that.
There's no storage tank for the
Sure.
fuel?
It has a large tank on it, but it doesn't, it's only,
What size?
it's developed to run for, I believe it's 48 hours. I can't tell the exact size of the tank, but I think.
Like the straight 6 companies?
I believe so. Well, they're a diesel motor, I'm not sure if they're straight.
Can you research the duration of time the generator can run on one tank of fuel?
It's supposed to be about 48 hours.
48 hours.
Understanding.
It's probably around a 60-gallon tank. The picture that's seen on it, there's 60
But
All I'm getting at is that it's gonna need fuel in 48 hours, and if you
Yes.
can't get it, it's gonna run out, so we need to be
Oh, I agree.
Prudent to have a storage tank that's plumbed into the generator where it can run 6 days. It might be a week before you can get back there.
The only thing to worry about in the winter time is, gelling in the fuel when it gets below 30.
It can be treated, it can be treated. We treat the fuel here, so we can treat fuel. So, yeah,
Maybe you can look into that a little bit?
no problem.
Thank you.
Bond projects. He just went over all of those with you. I can go through them again if you want me to. But,
I don't need to, no.
No.
back to the front page here. So, since the last meeting in April, we put 32 new meters in the ground. We changed out 179, and we put 290 MIU units, which are the sending units from the meters to the collectors. We've had 782 work orders since the last meeting. There have been 3 more water notices since April meeting. Those are attached to the back of my report. All 3, if you want to look at them, they were from 2 were due to line failure, the other was due to a line strike.
How many, from January to now were line strikes versus line failures?
I can find that number for you. I don't have it right offhand, but, we've done 641 line locates in the last month. This next line, this Wise Regional Water District, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it yet. So we are members of the Wise Regional Water District, which is a water district that we are working to build. And we would be one of the members of it, along with Boyd, Paradise, Rome, Aurora, Decatur, Bridgeport, to bring more water. The main goal is to bring more water into this part of Texas, or find a way to get more water. We would still run independently as a water district, but we would also be receiving water through that water district. It's a twofold type deal, because first off, once these other entities, most of which we supply water to, start to receive water through there, we don't have to supply to them, so we can give it to our customers instead of these cities. The other is we will also start to receive water through that district, so we'll have more water supply than we have. So it works twofold in our favor. It went through the House, it failed to go through the House last week. The House bill did. They shot it down. It went through the Senate. So now the Senate bill will move over to the House. They have not voted on it yet. The 2 bills were a little different. One gave some concessions to developers to have a seat on the board, because otherwise that legislators let us know that it was not going to go through. We had to make a concession. They let us know up front, it's not going to pass if you don't make a concession. Our legislature is very developer driven, we'll put it that way. So we had to give a seat, just one seat on the board, to a developer. As soon as that bill goes through, we'll find out if it's, makes it through the House. The Senate bill makes it through the House side. If it does not, there's still an option of building a PUA where we would all sign to work together. And we wouldn't have the exact same power as we would as a water district, but we could still work together and have more power for bringing water into this part of Texas. So that's what the Wise Regional Water District is. And that concludes my report.
Hey, we decided it's gonna be, going from here to be on the board,
I'm sorry.
to be on the board, we were gonna pick one person from here.
Well, so right now, just with the way it's set up, it's just a steering committee, and I'm on the steering committee. We will have to have a board member here. The way I understand it is, it has to be a paid individual from here, an employed individual, is the way they set it up.
Can't be a director, can't be an employee.
How much do you get paid?
Be here.
Be here.
You're an employee then.
You're a contractor.
So the way they set it up is not to have board members, but I don't know, there may be a loophole, you know, board members from each entity to be on that board, but there may be a loophole for that to happen. I'm not sure.
I guess they made a loophole for developers being on there.
Yeah, well, what happened with the developer was, developers showed up at Austin when all the rest of us did. And, said their piece against it. And we sat down with the House and we sat down with the Senate representatives. And they basically told us, if you don't make these concessions, when it hits, it will get shot down. So we made the concession on one side and we didn't on the other, except for the to see. I'm
Do
sorry.
you have something to add, Mr. Gill?
Well, I was just gonna, since y'all are new to it, we tried several times to try to get something with the Tarrant Regional Water Board, pumping raw water to, building lines and pumping it to Bridgeport. They killed that idea. We talked about putting plants up there around the, what's that preacher's name? There on
Kenneth
Copeland. And, they suggested putting in about $60 to $100 million to put in another plant there. But they did not guarantee us any more water, that they would sell us any more acreage, water rights. Build it, but we're not, you know, we're not gonna guarantee any water. So what we've been, with a 5-year plan, we had to go looking. And then James met with the new Fairview, mayor, and that West Wise mayor, mayor consortium. And so what we're working with now, or they're working with now, or y'all will too, will be with the Upper Water District, how to say that one, James, the under,
Upper Trinity, which is out to the,
At a
not
dip-
groundwater district, but the surface water
But
district,
for-
which is out.
throughout the Denton area, because we can't,
Yes.
they're not gonna move,
And
they are not selling us any more water out of Eagle Mountain or giving us more water rights,
Well,
I believe.
actually, they are willing to work with us to get more water as a regional district, but not as us by ourselves.
Yeah, so that,
But they're willing to work to put a plant on Eagle Mountain and sell us more water, and we're all together in a regional district.
and I think,
That's what they're pushing for, is regionalization.
do I understand too, James, that Parker County is now looking the same thing too?
Parker County, there is talk, and they're working on building a water district there also of the same sort. We can be a member of both.
Yes.
We can be a member of both, which helps us also because then we have options of bringing water from the south. So it's a good thing, no matter how you look at it. There are complications in anything you do, but in the long run, it's to get more water to our customers.
That sounds like a good deal.
Point of clarification, since Mr. Yoli spoke, has the legislation, the bill, have they gone back to rectify chapter 49 of the Texas Water Code regarding developers can't be part of a board? Or members of their family or work for them?
Obviously not.
I would-
They're looking to
yeah.
add one to the deal, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I wrote our representative about that, I'm like, how are you doing this? Are you rectifying,
I'll
what are you
check
changing
into
in
that.
the Texas Water Code?
Yeah, I'll check.
Chapter 49 specifically has a paragraph and a half about it.
All down
Well,
there.
so
Exactly, thank you.
I believe the way they worded it is that a MUD would have,
Bud could have a developer on it, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, but
Yes.
not,
Like a SUD or,
not a public,
well,
not a special water utility, special utility district or commercial. or-
yeah, no, I
They
understand what you're
simply
saying.
call it water district, which wise would be.
It's
interesting.
yeah, it is very, believe me, I deal with it on a daily basis.
It's money.
Okay, moving on. Item H is legal and professional reports.
Nothing to report.
Nothing to report. Doesn't that cover all the items that we had on the agenda?
That does, sir.
Ask for a motion to adjourn, is that correct?
You can, or you can just adjourn.
Drop the hammer.
Is there any other discussion that y'all would like to partake in? I have additional things, but I'll save it since you got baseball.
I got baseball.
Okay, we're adjourned.
And please state the time.
6:02.
Here.
6:02.
6:02. You might need a clock in here, huh?
I've been looking for one.
Good to see you. Congratulations.
You thought. Hey, I need to
Starts at 7.
You need one in with?
6:02.
Oh, yeah.
We'll make
It's a good thing.
Someone interrupted mine. That's how the phone call came in later. So I hope you can.